All right, welcome to episode 5 of the Grounded podcast. No applause. All right, so for episode 5 today, we have a very special guest all the way from Rockville, Maryland. We have Benjamin Ashley joining us on the pod today.
What's up, guys?
So before we kind of really dive into things, you know, first things first, I gotta give my flowers first, right? So a lot of people who knew me prior to hometown being open, or people who've known me during hometown, whatever, a lot of times like people ask like, oh, where did you train basically before you opened up the gym? So in 2020, 2021, and most of 2022, I was training at Benefits Bodyshop, which is what we'll kind of get into. That's Ben's gym out in Rockville, Maryland, and that's where I was for the last 2 years. So if it wasn't for Ben, and if it wasn't for like me being able to kind of see what he did, seeing just, and this is from a gym member perspective, but honestly, if it wasn't for that, there truly would be no hometown barbell. So got to give you your flowers first. I appreciate you. I do. I really do. And but yeah, we'll start out. We'll kind of do an introduction. So if you want to take the floor, who are you? Where are you from? Kind of let's get the full intro.
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, Benjamin, born and raised in Montgomery County, Maryland. Opened up Benefits back in 2019. Born and raised in this area, so it means a lot to me. You know what I mean? Kind of give back to the community. I steered away from kind of the fitness endeavors because I was chasing money prior. But back in 2018, I guess it was, decided that was no longer like the main thing. I wanted to be home with family. And so quit my FAA career, came home, opened up the gym, and started rocking and rolling.
All right. And so kind of speaking on your gym, like I said, Benefits Bodyshop, kind of what's like the origin story behind Benefits, and like how did it become about and everything like that?
So I fell in love with lifting pretty much in school for football. That's pretty much how I got my start in it. Then when I could no longer play football, just wasn't good enough anymore, lifting kind of became that thing for me. It was in my outlet. It's what I needed to kind of get through the day and not have like, the anger issues or mental things kind of blocking me. I'd use fitness. And it was kind of that moment. I was probably 18, 19 years old. I decided I wanted to own my own gym one day. To this day, I still have people that come into the gym and they're like, dude, I remember you back in like 2010 working at Fitness First. And you were like, yeah, I'm going to own my own gym. And they're like, dude, 10 years later, boom. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where it started from. Like I said, I got away from it for a while because chasing money, did air traffic control. I literally Googled like highest paying job with a 2-year career or 2-year degree, and that's what came up. And so I just said, all right, all in on it. Went, did that about 5 years, got into the security side of things. So my position kind of got moved from headquarters out to like the middle of the country. Tried to get back into the field. So went out to Oklahoma, did the training out there. Closest I could get to home was going to be Indianapolis or Memphis. And wife wasn't wanting to move. I missed my son's birth. Daughter's first day of school. I was missing life events, and that's kind of when it was like, okay, got to make a change, and thus Benefits Bodyshop was born.
Wow. So kind of going into all of that in the sense of like just missing out on things, missing out on your kid's birthday, and life is just kind of passing you by. In the meantime, it's like you're trying to just basically have it so you're trying to provide for your family. Yeah. You're making the sacrifices to like make it work for them. But then at the same time, you have it to where people are like, I'm sure you kind of have a lot of like outside noise in the same sense of like, there's this outside pressure for you to where it's like, you want to be at home, you want to be with your family.
Oh yeah.
But then at the same time, you want to be able to provide for them. You
want to bring home the bacon.
You got it. Yeah. Someone has to pay the bills.
Got to.
And then you kind of make that sacrifice. But what was your mindset going into, okay, your wife's like, I don't want to make this change. I don't want to make this move. What was that little tick in your mindset of, you know what, then this is kind of the time to drop what I know is working, what I know pays well.
Yeah.
And how do you get to that point of where you drop that to the point of like, now it's time to start something new?
There was the exact moment I could tell you. My daughter, we're on FaceTime, right? I'm in Oklahoma. I'm living out of a hotel room for 4 months. And, oftentimes FaceTime, every day type thing. And when it came a reality that I couldn't get back, Leesburg is the closest center that I could get back to. And so that was my plan. Hey, I'm going to get back to the Leesburg, it's the D.C. center, right? And when it was no longer a possibility, I saw the list of like open vacancies that I could get to. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Indianapolis and Memphis were pretty much the two closest. Both are 12-hour drives from where we live, just opposite directions. And I'm talking with my wife, my daughter, and my daughter says to me, Dad, I'm used to you just not being home. I don't want to move. And it wasn't just my wife not wanting to move. You know what I mean? She, family's huge to my wife. So is it to me. But, we're a 5-minute drive from her mom. We're a 5-minute drive from my mom, my sister, her brothers. You know what I mean? Right now, our circle of family is very close. And the prospect of being 12, 15 hours away to her was like, no. And, that's something that I think in a relationship, you're going to, okay, honey, well, can we do it for 2 or 3 years? So then, the prospect of me getting back to Leesburg, are you willing to do that? And then that's when my daughter chimed in and was like, Dad, I'm used to you just not being home. This girl's 5 years old, and she's feeling just used to not having her dad after 4 months. And I was like, not doing that. I'm out. And I literally went to, it wasn't that day, but I kept asking, like, hey, what can you guys do for me? I'm a former, TSSCI holder at the FAA headquarters. What can you do for me? Like, some job back there. And the guy's response to me was, oh, you go where we tell you. And I was like, man, I'm out. I can't do that. Goodness. And he literally says to me, nobody quits here at traffic. And I took out my PIV card, put it on the desk, and said, I don't want to be treated like that. Drove 23 hours home that night, straight. Packed up the hotel, got in my little 2-door Civic, and drove 23 straight hours. It was a turning point in my life, for sure.
Goodness. Damn, that's actually kind of crazy because I remember one of the first conversations that we had, and I asked you basically like kind of what you told me, like your story, all that stuff, but I didn't know into that detail of like.
Yeah, I don't share that much. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I mean?
And I think most people that know you know that you're definitely a pretty private person, and I know you like to keep your private life aside because I know it's tough because when you're in the gym every day and you got your family there, you got your kids kind of running around, and you have things going on, and it's hard to kind of be this. Like everyone wants to know you. Everyone wants to kind of be involved and everyone, but then it's like you try to
set some barriers,
boundaries.
boundaries.
And the gym is your life in the sense of, it fills a lot of time in your everyday and everything like that. You put a lot into it, but at the same time, it's like you try to keep that balance in between, keeping your family private from keeping the business side and the actual like being in the gym side and try to separate the two, which like even for myself, I think has been kind of hard just trying to keep that balance from being in the gym, having your kids in the gym, having your wife in the gym, and then on the flip side of it is that like even for us, like if there's something that's like is heavy on me and my wife's heart and we're just like we've been talking about it or whatever, I've literally seen people like they can see her and I are in a conversation and it looks like it might be interesting. Okay. So they'll like slowly like, oh, let me get on that machine that's close to there. So
what's going on over
they'll
there.
get in the machine and they'll just like start lifting and they're just like you could hear them like slowly like. So for us sometimes, bro, we've gone in the car and this isn't even like fighting or nothing crazy. This is like basic conversation. Yeah. But it's not conversation for everyone to be heard. So it's
husband wife conversation.
Yeah. So we're just trying to like, and then for us, I keep a pretty open door policy to where, if I'm in my office and the door's closed, I don't mind when people like come in and like, say what's up.
Yeah.
But like sometimes like we'll be talking and people will just be like,
yeah,
can I get a spot?
Gets a little uncomfortable.
You're just like in the middle of the
right time.
Yeah, you're in the middle of the conversation. You're like, all right, I'll get with you in a second. Yeah. But that's just the nature. It's the nature of the business. But it's definitely interesting to hear you say that. So it kind of makes me think back. I don't know if you remember, but do you remember the very first conversation we had ever had in your gym?
I want to say yes. There's a conversation that I'm thinking of. Now, whether or not it was the very first, I'm pretty sure it was. We were on the treadmills, right?
We were on the treadmill. Yep.
Yeah.
So very, very first conversation we'd ever had, right? So it's not too many times to where you're in, especially if you're in somebody else's space, and like the very first thing you say to them is like, hey, how you doing? My name is Josh, I'm trying to open up a gym in Frederick. I don't know when, but at some point. that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I live out in Frederick. I drive out here, love this gym. And if there's any insight or any type of anything, crumbs, literally crumbs that I could get, let me know.
Yeah.
And you were very willing to, because a lot of people, it becomes a little bit of a pride thing. I think with some that, whether it's like industry secrets or
yeah, bro, I've run into that.
You know what I
for
mean?
Sure.
To where it's like people will gatekeep success in some way.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there and you're like, well,
frustrating.
Yeah. And you're just and for you or like even for myself in that position, you're sitting in the position where you don't know much. You have, and even honestly, you can only Google so much. You can only look up so much. You can read so much. You can watch so much. But when you talk to somebody who's actually like going through it, and at the time, I had no sense of timetable. I just wanted to see what does day one look like?
Yeah.
Where do you get started? I know if you have the idea, it's this. And I would talk to you about like just little stuff. I mean, it was like almost every time I saw you, I would just try to get a little bit more of a crumb. And then I would, not to sound like creepy, but I would just watch.
Yeah.
Like I would literally just watch. I would sit there.
How's this thing running? How's this thing operating?
Yeah, I'd be training, and I'd just be watching. I would see your interactions with people. I would see how you treated people. And there's a lot of things, like I say, I have zero shame in doing it because I do admire it. So, like, there were ways that I saw you, like how you treated people, like people that would come in the gym. Actually, you know what? The very first time I even came into the gym, I came out on a day pass. I was working in D.C. at the time, and I had been wanting to come out to your gym for a while, but it was like, I was like, I don't know if it's not in my route.
Yeah.
It would be something that I'd have to go out of my way to
Yeah.
go to. But it's like, this is where I want to be at. And at the time, I knew people who were training there. So I was like, I really want to get out there. But I was like, damn, Rockville at the time seemed like such a hike. So I was like, okay, so I get on the road, I get out there. Or I had DM'd you the night before. I was like, hey, like I'm trying to get a day pass. And you were like, what time are you going to be there? And I was like, 5 a.m. You were like, I'll be there. And I was like, oh. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. 5 a.m.
Dude's about to pop up at 5 a.m.
I was there. He was there, greeted me, gave me a full tour, where you're from, how you hear about the gym, got everything started. And this is actually, I remember this vividly because this is when you had just expanded into the other side.
Okay. Wall just came down
because there was nothing there yet. It was dark. There was still like
all the equipment on the turf?
Yeah, everything was on the turf. There was like paint buckets and everything. And I was like, and I knew nothing. I was just like, oh, like maybe this is just like the unfinished part, or I didn't know what it was, but I was like, okay, like I could see that something's happening here. So I was like, okay, cool. I got my workout or whatever. But then after like I had signed up, I think that's where it led to like our first conversation after that, to where we're on the treadmill. And I don't even remember how I kicked it off or anything. I think you probably just said, yo, what's up, how are you? And then I just probably just started rambling.
Yeah, pretty sure you pretty much like you just said, you were like, hey, man, I want to do this one day. And I remember the name and everything because you were like, yo, it's like community, my hometown, I want to do it there. You know what I mean? I remember that conversation verbatim almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there, and to me, it was a little nerve-wracking because I was like, I don't know. I feel like in some ways I'm like overstepping, but in a lot of ways, I don't think you can really ever know what something is going to be until you just do it. Like, I feel like I probably wanted to do it before them, and I was like waiting for the right time, because most of the time when I saw you, you were always I'm talking on the fly, because you're trying to get you probably got something on your mind, you're trying to get from A to B, and you know how it is.
X, Y, and Z popping up. Yep.
Everybody's like getting in your track line. And so I knew that to catch you in a stationary moment is already in itself. Plus, two, is that like when you're training, I'm not really trying to bother you. So I had to find a moment that I'm like, all right, the treadmill's probably
best opportunity.
The best opportunity to actually get this man to talk and actually have a full like convo versus like kind of being interrupted, which someone did end up pulling you off, because I don't remember what we were saying, but whatever it wasn't finished. And I remember being like,
I do vaguely remember that.
But you dipped.
Yeah.
And because someone came up to you, they were like, hey, da, 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 and you were like, I'll be back. And then you ended up handling that, whatever that was. But I feel like for myself, that was kind of like a little bit of a leap of faith, to where like, I really don't know how this is going to go. It could be received as, oh, why are you, we don't know each other well enough for you to be. And you told me, and the more that I listen, the more that I'm like, this almost sounds like a very similar kind of structure. Because at the time you had, you had your daughter and your son. You worked for the government.
Yeah, we found a lot of
Yeah,
similarities.
there was a lot of similarities,
Yeah.
literally into like almost like to the T. And I was like, dang, like this feels like almost like I like
It was meant
personally,
to be.
yeah, I don't believe in coincidences. Like I don't believe that like things just happen because of whatever. But I'm listening to this and I'm like, this sounds like exactly where you were at the FAA is where I was how I felt like when I was on deployment, and I'm just like away from my family.
Yeah.
I left deployment and I wasn't even gone that long, but long enough to come back and be like,
Don't want to do that again.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't go back. And it's different versus like, being working for the government versus being in the military and being, you can't just like, I had to wait for my time just to be up.
True.
And so, but the second that it was, I was like,
I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And I remember coming home and like my daughter, like before I left, my daughter was like mumbling, but she wasn't really like saying words.
Okay.
I came back, I'm talking sentences. I was like,
Yeah.
I've been
I missed out on
gone.
all that growth. Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's tough.
I was like, this is actually great. She was
Yeah.
like, oh, hey. Like, I remember I was in the driver's seat, and like I'm in the driver's seat. Raquel's right here, and my kids are in the back, and my daughter's like, something like, I missed you, Daddy, and it just
Full thing. Yeah.
hit me in the back of the head like she threw a brick at me,
Yeah.
and I was like, I've been gone, and this is hard, and like
Yeah.
for
Doesn't sit well with you.
it doesn't, and even when by the time I even realized what was going on, all my dad's deployments, all that stuff had ended, so I didn't really get that taste of him being gone. Okay. All my older siblings, he did a total of 7 years of sea time, which is like he was gone a lot.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my older
that's a lot.
siblings can relate to that, like just not being there, and my mom having to step up and like be that like
Both roles almost.
exactly, and it's tough. And then it also made my older siblings kind of have to grow up quicker too, because dad's working, he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Someone has to step up. Someone has to help with the diaper changes or take kids to school, whatever it may be. And so a lot of my older siblings felt that void. I didn't feel as much of it, but I felt it on the other side of it, being in even when I wasn't deployed, but I was just my work schedule. I worked 12-hour night shifts, so
Yeah.
I was on opposite schedules of them.
Yep.
And I was sacrificing, whether it was time and sleep, just to be able to put them to bed.
Yeah. Be
Just
present
to be able
in their
to
life. Yeah.
have dinner, just be able to do things. And it was really hard. It was hard on my marriage, and it was really hard on my body. It was just a tough life.
For sure.
It was a tough life. So you kind of saying what you're saying it just kind of brings me full circle in a lot of ways. But I definitely remember vividly that first conversation. I remember, like, I'm talking to the T, where we were standing,
Yeah.
what treadmill I was on, how the sun was hitting,
Yeah,
to the
right in front of
T,
the glass window.
to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
T, everything. And so, kind of fast forward a little bit, getting into hometown, starting it, getting it open, all that stuff. And like I said, definitely a huge help into just getting it off the ground in the sense of asking you this, asking you that. I was having, issues with certain inspections, and I'd be like, did you ever have this thing? And granted, Montgomery County and Frederick County don't have the same bylaws or
different,
whatever,
yep.
but for the most part, most of it's the same, and just a lot of those conversations that we had. And I even remember it was probably a few months before I had opened, and we went to that coffee shop in
Oh, yeah.
maybe in Gaithersburg.
Yeah.
It's like,
right off of Travilla.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It was behind. I think there's like a school or something that's right there. It was like right off. I remember.
Yeah,
being close-
University's at Shady Grove.
Yes,
Yeah,
right over there.
that's right.
So we went and we got coffee, and we were just talking, and you gave me a lot of really, really good insight into just some things that might arise into some different, different conversations, and I valued those things. I really do, and really to. Like also to people listening that don't be afraid to take that leap of. I feel like too many people want to be self-made to where they're scared to ask for help.
I did this on my own.
Everybody wants to be like, it was me.
Yeah,
I ain't
takes
have
a village.
nobody. I didn't have no help.
Yeah.
Nobody helped me out. Nobody pointed me in the right direction. And then your pride gets in the way. And then they're scared to ask because either one, I'm too prideful, or two, I don't know how that person is going to be received.
And I think that kind of goes back to what you're saying. That there's gatekeeping for sure. Somebody gets a little bit of success, and somebody's like, "Yo, man, how'd you do that?" And that person doesn't want to tell. And I remember telling you, and it still rings true to this day, man. All I'll see our success based off of what grows from not just my business and the gym within ourselves, but the personal trainers that we've given a chance to do their independent thing. A member that said, hey, you know what? This is my dream too. I want to do this. All right, well, hey, here's the game plan. Go, can you do it? You've done it. I'm not saying I take any credit for that, but that speaks to our success, I think. You know what I mean? Like seeing everybody grow. There's enough for everybody to eat. The gatekeeping stuff, man, it's for the birds.
You said that. You said that to me a while ago. You told me, you said, everybody can eat, and that it rang.
Yeah,
everybody can eat. Everyone thinks that there's like, first of all, the DMV in general.
Oh, the population.
The population is giant. I mean, Maryland is tiny. The DMV is tinier, but we're one of the most populated areas in like a 60, 70 mile radius of anywhere in the country.
Yeah,
it is crazy populated.
They're only building more and more too,
and more and more people
everywhere,
are coming.
man.
More and more people coming.
Multifamily units and all that stuff being built.
Multifamily units, duplex, apartments, condos, townhomes popping up. What you thought was farmland, guess what? It's a townhome neighborhood now.
Yeah.
So it's like it's crazy to think about that, and I feel like me coming to you and kind of like being at your will in the sense for that second of like I don't know what he's gonna tell me, but there's something that's kind of leading me to just ask because. Like I said, everything happens for a reason, and me personally, I don't believe that I wasn't not supposed to meet you. I wasn't not supposed to ever talk to you because I think about a different path if I never went at all. And
Benefits is too far. I can't go there.
I can't go.
Yeah.
Now I'm just gonna stay in my little bubble.
Yeah.
Stay in this essentially commercial mindset, right? Be like, you know what? I'll grow here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would be where I am today. Or it would have took me way longer to really
get that point.
Because I had a dream, but I didn't know what it looked like.
Yeah.
And I'm in your gym. I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is kind of like because to me, I was fascinated. Like, I didn't know that. Like, I think you were the first private gym I had ever like really gone to consistently, and the drive was worth it. I was making that drive 5 days a week.
Yeah,
I would figure out what's the best times to avoid traffic. I was making the drive. It was worth it, like 100% worth it. I got to meet some amazing people. I got fully entrenched into amazing community, and then I also got to see kind of like what leadership looks like what it should look like kind of from the top.
Yeah.
And then I saw you have to like the things that I've seen you do, you won't see most people at the top do.
Yeah. I used to get flack for that.
Yeah.
People, not from everybody, obviously.
Right.
A lot of people respect it and appreciate it, but there used to be some people, I guess they think high and mighty of themselves and stuff. They're no longer members, the person I'm thinking of, but literally gave me a hard time for it. Bro, why are you doing that? What do you mean, why am I doing that? Trash needs to be taken out. Bro, but don't you have cleaning? I mean, yeah, but the trash needs to be taken out. I'm going to take it out. Like, why is that a bad thing?
Right.
Oh, it just seems like it's beneath you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, nothing's beneath me, man. I'll scrub a toilet. Why would I care?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a reflection on the club.
Right.
If I see something needs to get done, it's going to get done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people think like that because they feel like when they get to a certain spot, it's like, okay, now I have...
It's beneath me. Somebody else can do that.
Beneath me that can get that stuff done. And the culture will naturally look to that, because me, and you're not doing any of this with intent of like, oh, Josh is watching, let me... No, this was just what you were doing, and I just happened to be looking. So I'm seeing you, bags of trash, behind the shoulder, boop, throw it around. I'm seeing toilet needs cleaning, boom, boom, boom. So for me as a member, I'm like, I'm seeing you work hard to keep your gym clean, that I feel like I'm taking care of it in the sense of, because I know I wouldn't want to come out the bathroom and see, you know what I'm saying? I got toilet paper all over the floor. I know Ben is over here working to get, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how you build that community. That's how you build that community of like-minded people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Now, and I think, so like when we first opened, that was kind of one of the things that we said. It was going to be a community of like-minded people. And that's not just lifters, you know what I mean? Like that's people who care. That's people who have a good mentality going to the gym. They're not going to the gym to, float their own ego or, show off or anything like that. Like, we're building a community here of like-minded people that don't just love lifting but are good people. somebody who sees, oh, here's the owner taking out the trash, here's the owner from the toilet. I'm not about to leave this place a mess. Here, let me do 2 minutes of just kind of putting this stuff away. Oh, I see another plate. I didn't use that, but I'm gonna put it away because I see that it needs to be done.
Right.
Like that. That's building the community. We're not perfect by any means. Stuff still gets left out. Stuff runs out here and there. But having that community where everybody's kind of looking out for one another, I think that's one of the biggest things that we have that you won't find at a corporate gym. Corporate gym, somebody's going there. I paid my dues. I'm not doing that. No, somebody else is going to do that. Yeah, but dude, you just left weights on 5 different pieces of equipment. You got dumbbells over here on the floor. Like you just left it a mess.
Right.
So what? I paid my dues.
Right.
I came in. I got my workout. Now I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Those people don't last in our facility because if that's you, not only am I going to get upset with you and I'm going to call you out and I'm going to pull up the cameras and send you a screenshot. Hey man, just so you know, like you were the one that left the 7 plates on each side on the leg press that this girl at 2 a.m. had to come and clean off so she could use it.
Right.
But you're going to build that reputation amongst the gym, and the gym will weed you out. You won't be a member here long because nobody's going to want to fuck with you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we good at clears?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, nobody's going to want to fuck with you. So, either do it the way we do it or you're going to have to go to Gold's Gym and be a paying member there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to me to kind of think about the mindset that some people have and how some people kind of treat private gyms in the way, because to me, people treat private gyms in one of 2 ways. Either A, I'm here, I'm paying a premium price, so I want to be treated like almost like kind of pampered in a way. You know what I mean? And it's like, just because you're in a private facility, you should almost treat it better than you would in another facility, because I would say we almost care more because, yes, we are the ones who are kind of going behind people, make like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, making sure that everything is taken care of, everything is like, kind of laid out for the for the members, right? Yeah. And so you do have some people that kind of get in that mindset, you know what, like this isn't mine. You know what I mean? Like I pay my thing, I do my dues. But when you create a culture, especially starting at the top, because I guarantee if you treated people below you, and I'm saying below you, not below, but like not in the position that you're in.
Yeah, I understand.
If you treat them like that, that's how that's just the culture. It's going to slowly just disseminate into how everyone is.
Yeah.
If you're like, you know what, I'm not doing that, you go clean up. Then that person's doing that to somebody else. Then that person's doing that to somebody else. And it's just a domino effect and a little ripple effect of like, you did this and now this is what it is. So I feel like for me, I got to see, what good leadership is like. I talked about in one of my episodes, I think it was episode 2, I mentioned how like in today's society, people don't want to give nobody praise.
Yeah.
They don't want to give nobody, they don't want to give nobody their flowers. And I called it, you know what de-essing? Glazing, when like people say things like that. When they're like,
I'm too old, man. The lingo's out of my thing.
So basically, I
just found out what Riz meant.
Oh, okay.
Charisma.
Is that what it's short for?
It's short for charisma, bro.
I never knew that.
I never knew that.
Bro,
I asked so many people.
I did not know. I always knew Riz. I knew what Riz was, but I thought it was kind of its own thing. I had no idea it was short for charisma. That makes sense.
Yeah,
but I never put it together because people would be like, "Oh yeah, you resident," and I'm like,
"Got the Riz."
Yeah. I never knew what that meant, but basically, so I'll explain what de-essing is off camera. But basically,
I got to guess now.
Yeah, they don't want to give nobody their praise. They don't want to give nobody, because it's like, "Oh, you de-essing that person," and it's like, it's not like that. When you can, first of all, it's about humbling yourself and kind of bringing yourself down from whatever pedestal you think you're at.
Being grounded, maybe. I mean, it fits a little well.
You know what I'm saying? So look, bring yourself down for a second from wherever high horse you think you're at.
Yeah.
And you're just like, listen, man, like, look, I appreciate the things that you're doing for me. I'm going to tell you that I appreciate those things that you're doing. And then you hope that when that opportunity arises for, someone else to do that, you can be in the same position for somebody else.
Keep it going.
Or that person will, because I mean, you look back and you're like, you think about the basic thing that you learn as like a kindergartner, like the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah, 100%.
And you 20 years later, 30 years later, as an adult, we think that mindset is elementary, when it's not. That's something that they taught us for a reason, because in any space that I've been in, especially for you in a government space and for me in a military space, knowing that rank is everything.
Yeah.
Structure is everything. GS15, GS7, E9, E1.
Power trip, some of them.
All of them. And it's like they let that power get to their head, and they're like, basically you need to throw rose petals when I walk into the room type. And a lot of people that are on that mindset, I've always learned that they really have no respect, and nobody respects them. And they're some of the worst leaders because of they have this, pharaoh, like somebody with a palm trees.
They think they just given respect. They don't have to still earn it because of their position or their title.
And
respect is always earned.
Always. And I've seen some people, they have certain high ranking people. They have drivers, they have security details, they have this, they have that, and you would think that they don't poop. Yeah. They don't put their pants on like you do. They don't put on the shirt. They don't bleed. They don't breathe air.
My mom told me at a very young age, everybody puts their pants on the same way.
Same way.
Because, it's cool to have an idol or a role model, but don't think that they're better than anybody.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
They're humans.
Yeah, put their pants on the same way.
They make mistakes. They lie. They cheat. They steal. They do all the same things that we all do because we're humans. We're imperfect. We're not designed to be perfect beings, right?
100%.
And I feel like it's people like that they demand respect, but they don't get it. And then you can have one of the lowest, members on the totem pole who has the respect of their peers strictly because of their actions and how they treat other people.
Yeah.
And they'll have 10 times more respect than that person who is like
Holds
demanding it and has some big title, big name, big this. And it's just an interesting concept. It's a very interesting concept because I know for some people, like, a lot of people that would like come into the gym, if they didn't have any like direct relationship with you, you would never know that you're the owner.
Yeah.
Because of you don't carry yourself on how some people might view like ownership of a business, to where you go in and it's like, oh my goodness, it's the owner. Let me start acting different because you know what I mean. And I feel like when you humble yourself and you bring yourself to that ground level and you're like, no, I'll clean the toilets. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna talk to you like a human being. I'm going to talk to you. And I feel like that was the one thing that did throw me off was how you were speaking to me. I was almost I've been to some gyms that like where ownership doesn't talk to you like that. They don't talk to you like you're a human. They talk to you like you're just, you're a member. You're paying your dues, and that's that. Your tally. And I feel like for you, when I was talking to you, I'm like, oh, like maybe he is generally asking how my family's doing. Maybe he generally cares about my well-being, asking how my day was, things, and I'm just like, it kind of threw me off a little bit because that's not the norm.
No,
that's not the norm. But I don't think we get into. I don't think even to be a gym owner in general, but I don't think you get into this type of business and anything is going to be normal.
Yeah,
at all.
It's a new normal.
Nothing's normal to the people you encounter, to the people you deal with, to the things that just the things that's in daily life as a gym owner. I don't think there's too many things that like is normal.
No, for sure.
At all. I tell everyone this and they think that I'm joking, but I'm very, very serious. No day is the same.
100%. Very variable.
Every day is like you'll get into bed at the end of the day and you're like,
can't believe I did all this today.
I can't believe that. No. You know what I mean? I can't believe that person said that, or I can't believe that. It's just like a lot of it's weird because it might seem like, oh, it's just another Wednesday or just another. But you never.
That's that 9 to 5 mindset. You know what I mean? Oh, it's another Wednesday. Okay, I go into work at 9, I clock out at 5, I go home, I'll have my dinner, get the kids to bed, maybe go to the gym if you're into that. Maybe watch some TV, play some games, whatever it might be. Go to bed, wake up the next morning, do the same exact thing. That's not gym owner
hamster
life.
Wheel.
No, yeah.
It's a hamster wheel. I had to get out of that hamster wheel because that was my routine of just doing the work, going to train, going to sleep. Yep. Going to eat, and it's like this hamster wheel. And me personally, I don't function well like that. Some people
thrive. Some people can thrive in that.
That's what they do, and that's not me knocking on it because that's you.
Yep.
And I've harped on that in every episode of like, if you're doing something that brings you joy, content, peace, all those things, keep doing it.
100%.
I don't ever come on this pod to like just start
my way's the right way
about if you're not doing this, if you're not drinking coffee, then you're a bum. Like doing something crazy. Like that's not my mission or motive or anything behind even doing this.
Yeah,
I think for me, I'm sharing my personal experiences, relationships, beliefs, whatever, really to make people think, to try to make people think outside of the normal society stuff. And that's the whole reason behind the pod is like every day you get on social media, you get on whatever, or just media in general, or even just life, work, whatever. And everyone just has the same little, small-minded thinking. And this is how we're supposed to be. This is how we're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to do. This is how we walk, talk, act, whatever. And this is just like we just need to be humble.
Yeah.
Like try to make this short life that we have enjoyable in any way and not drive ourselves crazy.
Yeah.
Not trying to be in this rat race with really things that don't even exist. Like having an internal race with somebody or something or this job, that position, that car, this whatever. And think
keeping
that
up with the Joneses, man.
Yeah.
It's not a fun life.
You'll never win.
No.
Because really you're trying to beat, you think you're in a race with somebody, but it's internal.
Yeah.
It's internal.
Yeah.
It really is. And that actually kind of brings me to my next point. So if you could change anything about yourself, about your business or yourself today, or like what you've done today, what would it be?
Change one thing. I'd say probably be wary of people a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not in a bad way. I would still be who I am, but I think you kind of mentioned it. They see you as the owner, and it's like, oh, I want to get close with him. I want to be cool with him. You know what I mean? And I'm fine with chatting it up, talking with every member. I've sold every membership at our facility has been sold through me. Like if you signed up at Benefits, you dealt with me. You know what I mean? We don't have a sales staff or anything like that. Now a lot of it's online, so maybe the interactions have come down a little bit since that happened. But there's definitely people, and it goes back to like very early on, that saw like, oh, this is happening. Well, let me see if I can get cool with Ben, and then it got kind of got used. You know what I mean? So that's probably the one thing. I would just be wary more, not just such an open book. Still be helpful and all that stuff. Still be fun and know everything about or know something about every person. That was my goal when I first opened it up. Not only did I want to do the sales and meet every member and stuff like that, but like you said, like when you signed up, hey man, I learned about your family, learned what career you were in, and then when I would see you, hey man, how's Coast Guard going? You know what I mean? Or hey man, how's family? Stuff like that. And I would never change that aspect of it, but once somebody feels like they have your ear, they'll tell you things that just aren't true, to paint themselves in a certain light or to paint other people in a bad light. And, I take what everybody says with a grain of salt because of those lessons that I learned. So I'd probably just start earlier on, not just being like, oh, this guy told me this, so that person must be a bad apple. You know what I mean? Probably that.
Yeah. No, that's pretty powerful because it's very difficult to. I think I did talk about that in an earlier episode of like the mask that some people kind of the facade.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see through that. It's hard to.
I had people saying, "Man, you're my best friend." I've known you for like 2 years, man. My best friend I know for 20. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not saying you can't be a good friend of mine.
Right.
But then what kind of came to light was as soon as I ended like business relation with that person, all my business decisions are business decisions. They're not personal decisions. I don't have anything against you personally, but like, hey, you were doing X, Y, and Z. I got to have this stop. And then all of a sudden it's, F that dude. Well, I thought I was your best friend, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why would that change all of a sudden just because I told you business-wise? And like I said, this goes way back. You know what I mean? It's not like new people. It's like, oh, there's some success. Mm-hmm. This person I knew back at Lifetime. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, you can feel that way.
It's very difficult. Something that I've learned is it's very difficult to do business with friends, or it's difficult to do business with people that you just know on a personal level.
Yeah.
And the reason that is, and I'll preface this with, it depends on who the person is, because if there's someone that has, and you know their intent, their why, and you kind of have some like a little bit of background to it, it's like, okay, you could do business with that person because you know that they're not the type to pull the chair from under you when you try to sit down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of times, at least from what I learned in the beginning, is that you will have those people who will pull the chair from you under, but you didn't know that in the beginning because there was a little bit of a mask or a little bit of a maybe you were just numb to it, or maybe you were just you didn't see it coming, or maybe you did see it coming, but now that it happened, and now that it's happening to you, you're like, oh, dang, well,
Yeah.
you start thinking a little different. So it's very interesting that you say that, because I definitely feel like, people and what we're doing, because to me, I know I can sleep at night doing the right thing.
For sure.
Personally.
100%.
Even since I was a kid, if I'm lying to my parents, I would have a hard time like sleeping at night, because it's like I don't feel good about what's happening. Yeah. I get this pit in my stomach about like, I wronged that person. I feel bad, and I'm one of those people to where if there's a problem, let's fix it, or let's figure out what the root of it is, and let's actually try to mend whatever is going on.
Yeah, for sure.
I just can't, sit on things. And so I personally feel like it's come to one of those things for me to where if I feel like at the end of the day, I get home, especially when you have kids too, because you're trying to bring them up in a certain way. Yeah. And if you're not living that, what you're preaching, it makes you kind of look at yourself in the mirror as a parent, and you're like, And then you feel fake yourself. I can't teach my son that it's not right to do this, that, and but I'm doing the same thing.
And they'll see that eventually.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. They'll grow up and they'll resent you because of the things that they'll find out, oh, that was wrong in this person.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how you gonna tell me to do this? And you was out here running doing all these stuff that you told me not to do.
Yeah.
And so as a father, I look at my kids and it makes me want to be better, but also it just makes me like, it messes with my, emotional well-being, my mental health. If I feel like I'm wronging somebody and it's my fault.
100%.
If someone feels like you're wronging them, but that's not your intention, then I don't necessarily feel bad about it, because I know that when I'm going to sleep at night, I don't have anything that's kind of weighing on me because I'm doing the right thing, whether it doesn't please the person or not. And I feel like that's one thing I did have to learn, still learning, is all those things of like, sometimes it's not about, right or wrong, especially when it comes to business, isn't always the solution to the matter. Yeah. Some people, if they feel like you've wronged them in a business standpoint, whether it's like, oh, well, I don't want to do business, or I want to change how I'm doing this, or whatever the case may be, it comes down to sometimes it just has to just fray, and it just has to become something that you just don't deal with anymore, and it's not personal, and you have to learn to like not take things so personally. So like when we first opened up, I had a member who was like, hey, this isn't for me anymore because you don't have this service of what I'm looking for. So basically this person was like, when I come into the gym, like I want to be able to, I want to have, whether it's more cardio or a sauna or like maybe some different things like that. And so in the beginning, like when the gym first opened, I was taking things like personal, because I was like, dang, all this work I done put in and it's still not good enough. You're
gonna nitpick one thing.
Yeah, and I'm like, out of all the things that, and I would go to bed and I was just like, dang, like it almost made me like resent that person. But again, I had to look back at me and look down and be like, why am I upset?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I have to understand that from a business side, one, people get the right to choose, and two is that it's not personal.
Right.
They didn't do that because Josh Price was horrible to them, or you wronged them or anything like that. So once I took a step and first of all lowered my pride, but also took a step back and was like, you know what, like maybe it's not as personal as you're making it, because they just did what they did because they have the right to. They didn't do it because it was from a personal standpoint. And that's something I had to learn. It was like, it's not because you wronged them or you did something wrong. It's just what it is, and you just keep it moving from there. And it shouldn't necessarily hurt the personal side of things. It's just what it is.
Right. And
once I learned that, I feel like things got a little bit easier to understand, and then to grow and to just be able to kind of
That's honestly like the number one thing I would tell somebody when they ask me nowadays, like, hey man, what's a piece of advice you give me on like starting a business or running a business? And it's, don't take business decisions personal. It's not. You know what I mean? You got to be able to separate the two. And it is hard for people, for sure. You know what I mean? But as long as you're making the business decision with integrity and good heart, and you're not trying to get over on somebody, then yeah, it's not a personal decision at that. You know, it's just a business decision. So take it as that.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that that's a big piece of something that I had to learn was, you know, taking something and kind of just letting it, like, you could take something, absorb it into what it is, and then just kind of keep moving on versus, like, sitting on it and dwelling on it and overthinking on it.
Yeah,
and,
man.
like, doing all these things. Oh, maybe that one time when, you know,
and that's probably what I should say is the biggest thing I would change is not overthink stuff. Analyze the situation, make a decision, and move on. Yeah, because I'm the type that at night times specifically, I'll be trying to wind down, and like me and my wife might be watching TV in bed. I don't even know what the episode's about. I've been thinking about the scenario that happened earlier that day 5 different ways. I'm trying to see it from their viewpoint. I'm looking at my viewpoint. I'm looking at a side viewpoint. I'm looking at, well, what would this person? Well, why did they say that? Okay, but then this person told me that this person did that. Mm-hmm. Okay, but you know, this all stems from music that was somebody didn't like the music that was being played. Dude, okay, take the stereo away and move on. Like, make the decision and just go. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Stop overanalyzing and caring so much.
Right.
Because you won't please everybody.
You won't. And you
never
can't.
can.
You can't.
Dude, I mean, literally, music has been a point of contention recently and probably for the past, like, 6 months, right? I took the stereo off the floor of the gym, put it up on the roof, you know, of the, like, bathroom thing, and had the work iPad connected. That made some people happy. That made other people very upset. Then I had people climbing on equipment to get to that speaker so they could link up their own Bluetooth device. Caught them on camera. Drove in at 2 a.m. Drove in at 2 a.m. to confront the person that I caught on camera doing it. Then lies to me and says, I didn't do that. Dude, okay, I'll pull out the photo. Here we go. And I show it to him. And the individual's like, oh, well. I said, well, yeah, dude, you're sitting in your car. The person that's actually connected is here. You try to play semantics because you connected their phone, not your phone. So you tried to show me your phone. Look, I'm not connected. Dude, I'm not an idiot. I wouldn't come here and blame you for it if I didn't have the proof, especially at 2 a.m. I'm not driving in to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, they're still a member to this day, but, like, there's a sign right there. Do not touch speaker. Not only are you touching the speaker, you're climbing on equipment to get to the speaker. Like, what? And all because can't please everybody.
Can't
do it.
You can't.
Music, man.
It's crazy, man.
There are headphones.
Oh, you know my goodness.
They do exist.
You're preaching to the choir with this one. So I'll counter that, right? Yeah. Christmas Day 2023. Christmas Day. It's nighttime. You know, and nighttime Christmas isn't as big as morning time Christmas. You know what I mean? Nighttime is like, you know.
Okay.
So I'm just chilling. But I'm like, I told myself when in the morning, I said, no matter what happens, depending on, you know, what the severity of the situation is, I'm not going to go to the gym at all today. It's going to be the one day probably out of the 365 that I'm not going to go.
I don't think that's another thing people understand is that everybody thinks of it as like, oh, you can make your own schedule. To an extent,
there's
maybe.
no schedule.
But exactly, there is no schedule. I'm here 7 days a week.
And even when you're not there, you're there.
Bro, I went to Ecuador for 10 days, a family vacation like 2 years ago. I was on my phone doing business each day. You know what I mean? So, like, it's an everyday thing. My bad, man. Go ahead.
No, you're good. And especially because of the type of business that it is, 24/7 facility. Mm-hmm. Same thing here is like, there is no like, oh, let me just turn this off and I can just. It doesn't work like that because someone's always working out. Almost every minute of every day somebody's training.
Yep.
And that means that anything can go wrong or right or whatever, but you have to be 24/7 to a T. But like I said, Christmas Day, we have a county noise ordinance in Frederick.
Okay.
So at 10 o'clock, it goes into effect. So I didn't know this in the beginning, but when the gym first opened, I would have the music playing and it's playing.
Bumping.
All
right.
And I have a little residential area that's behind the gym.
Okay.
No, it's probably 30 feet back, 40 feet back.
Okay.
You can't really hear the audio. You could hear doom, 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 just bass. So when I first opened, I didn't think about that. And I had someone actually comment on my YouTube. Like, I made a YouTube video just about the gym and stuff like that. And someone commented, and they were like, "You need to turn the music down because
what a platform to choose to complain."
Yeah, like we got working people back here. I'm like, working people? I'm working too.
I was about to say that's why the music's going, man.
Like,
people are working.
Like, no, you need to do. So I'm like, so I start looking into it, and there's a county noise ordinance from 10 o'clock. It can't exceed a certain decibel after 10 p.m. Now, granted, if I were to go behind the building with a decibel meter, could I find out what level could I get it to? But I'm like, you know what? Let me keep the peace. So every day at 10 o'clock, I got an alarm that goes off. Every day, 7 days a week, 10 o'clock, I turn the music off.
Okay. Oh, so you turn it off.
I have to turn it off. I turn it off because if it's one of those things to where if I turn it down, you can still kind of hear the bass.
Okay.
And then
good system in there, man.
Yeah. If I keep it down and it's like at a certain point, then it's just, I was like, you know what, it's just better if I just keep it off.
Yeah.
So 10 o'clock, I turn the music off. And so when the gym first opened, there were members that would go in after 10 o'clock and they wouldn't necessarily like that because they're like, well, I want to listen. Even if they had their headphones, it's like, I just want to have some audio.
Just something playing.
Something. And so, like I said, Christmas Day, I turn the music off. Or actually, I turn the music off and then I always double check myself. I go on the camera, I listen to the audio to make sure that there's nothing playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm listening and I can hear the music thumping and it's like 10:30 and I'm like, and I had turned it off already.
Yeah.
That's why I was so confused. I was like, So I go on, I check my Spotify, I'm looking.
Now you're able to do it remotely.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I'm looking at it, I'm like, nothing's playing on my end. So I'm like, something's playing there. So drive up. At this point, it's like 11 p.m. And as soon as I turn into the lot, I can feel my car shaking. I park the car, I roll the window down, and it's like a word for word. I can sing the song from the parking lot. I was like, oh my God.
This ain't good.
Now, granted, I'm in a warehouse space, so it's a little like the installation, you have brick.
Yeah.
So you could probably keep in the sound. Even when the music's loud at Ben's, I don't think I could hear it from my car. Because of the, but with this in a warehouse
comes
type,
right
you can hear it. Sound just, so I go in and I'm like looking at the person who I know had turned on because they're the only person in there and connected. I keep the speaker. Anybody who has gone to Hometown Barbell 5904 Enterprise Court, open 24/7. Anytime that anybody has ever been to them, they know this. I keep the speaker high, specifically for the reason because when I was there, I would know that everybody wants to connect, or someone is connected and then they get on a phone call, or they might go to their car and then it so there's always that buffer, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna eliminate that and just have it up, and I'll control it. And so someone had connected to it, and I knew that they had to go through some crazy link. Actually, no. You know what? They pulled I keep a ladder, but I don't keep it out.
Okay.
I keep it away.
Yeah.
Bro, pull the ladder.
People are crazy.
Boop, connect, bumping, and I'm like, you don't know what this means because I'm like, if they call the police,
right, we're in violation of the ordinance.
You not the one in trouble.
Right.
They're gonna be looking at me. And then now I'm going to have to pay whatever fine or do whatever. Yeah. And then now I'm upsetting them when I already told them that I would keep it, So now I have to, and I'm trying to explain that weight of that to somebody.
Right.
And they're just like, oh, why are you mad at me? I'm like, I'm not even mad at you. I'm just trying to get you to understand that, you can't be doing this. And you're on the ladder. What if you fall? There's so many things that can go wrong. And I'm like, come on, just, please.
The I don't even know the right word, but the audacity that some people have to do things. Why would you think that's okay to do, man? You're pulling a ladder out, climbing up on it. Dude, why would you think that's
up high.
Okay?
And it's not like it's low. It's up.
Yeah.
It's a tall ladder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was this future song worth it? You know what I mean? I'm like, come on, bro. You're going to get me in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Forget it. So that, it's just, again, no day is the same. You always know that there's always going to be some type of shenanigans or whatever going on. But I think that's kind of the beauty of it too. Is
keep you on your toes.
It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
It keeps you. You're always working. You're always this. You're always that. And it's kind of the blessing and the curse of being in this type of business.
Yeah.
And I personally feel that looking back at it all, even through the ups and downs of this, to that, the difficult people, the great people, it's just part of it.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process. And to me, I spent a lot of nights, a lot of days, a lot of time trying to basically pray that this would come true. I spent a lot of time of really thinking about and praying, like, you know what, I really want this to happen. And me personally, I can't be mad at an answered prayer when things don't go my way.
Yeah.
Because it gets hard, because it gets tough.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I personally can be mad at, And
At the end of the day, it's still 100% worth it.
it's still worth it.
Yeah.
And
It's a passion for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
love the gym. Me too. You know what I mean? I don't compete in any aspect. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not a power lifter. I'm a general pop lifter that just loves the gym. Like I said, it was my therapy. It was my outlet when football was no longer there. Without it, it's something that I don't want to find out. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of like where I'll leave off with this episode, is just, I think the idea is to just humble yourself,
Yeah.
Ask for help when you need it. Give people the flowers that deserve it. And, if you're hesitant or if you're scared to kind of start that new thing or try that new thing, even with all the headaches and mistakes and the lessons and this and that, you still got to go do it.
Yeah. If you
gotta
really
go
want
do
it.
If you want it.
Yeah.
It's no one's going to give it to you. No one's going to hand it to you. No one's going to call you one day and be like, hey, this is the time. Go do what you're going to do.
Right.
It never happens like that.
You got to take that initial
You have
step
to do it.
every time.
You have to do it.
Yep.
So to that, Ben, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you speaking to the grounded folk out there. And
Absolutely.
Stay tuned for episode 6.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
Grounded.